You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. A lot going on. I mean, what's going on is crazy. And I'm sad to report to you that the focus of the news cycle right now is, as crazy as it sounds, on The View. There are a couple of stories coming out of the coven of The View, one of them involving Charlie Kirk, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But there's another story coming out of The View. Well, it's almost two other stories, but they involve the same person. Okay, they have named the permanent Republican lady to join their coven, and I would say permanent, but you know how it is. Anytime they get a conservative, they hate them and they run them out after a while. So I wouldn't say it's going to be permanent, but they've named this woman who worked for Trump. She was the communications director, and she's been trashing Trump since forever now. Alyssa Farah, okay, and she's been named as the new Republican permanent, that's what they said, I couldn't believe, coven co-host on The View. And if you don't know what a coven is, Google it and you'll get a chuckle.
She's joined the coven.
Yeah.
Just watch Clash of the Titans, and there's a scene with the three witches, and they're all blind, and Harry Hamlin goes into their cave. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. But anyway, Alyssa Farah, a couple of things about this. Her name, I've heard of her before because she's out there trashing Trump all the time. And her name sounded familiar to me. It's Farah, like Farrah Fawcett, Alyssa Farah. And I'm like, that name just sounds so familiar, but I could never connect it. I knew it wasn't Farrah Fawcett. And then I was reading a story about The View today. Her father is the founder of WorldNet Daily. And let me tell you, this is very concerning to me. Now, WorldNet Daily is not as big of a deal today as it used to be. But back in the early 2000s, when the internet was new in the late 90s and there were first conservative news sites online for the first time, WorldNet Daily was pretty big, and it was a go-to, and it was a website that I went to every morning before I went on the air. I've not gone to WorldNet Daily before today in a long time. I went there today. I didn't see any Never Trumper-like things going on there, but I just looked and saw what stories they had today. I'm not following it, so I can't speak as to whether or not WorldNet Daily is Never Trump or MAGA. I don't know, but if you're a strong Trump person, you wouldn't want your daughter out there trashing Trump on national TV all the time. You just wouldn't want it. So I don't know. I've got to keep an eye out on WorldNet Daily. But another story with Alyssa Farah. Okay, now you may have heard that there's an official Justice Department investigation into our great president, Donald Trump. Now it's official.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, that's what it said. There's an official investigation into him.
So at the January 6th
that doesn't mean they've charged him. There's no charges.
Okay, but as the January 6th committee, are they done? Have they handed over their so-called evidence to them? So what does this mean?
No, it's something separate. I mean, it involves January 6th, they've said, but the committee's still doing what they're doing. So but Alyssa Farah, the new conservative on The View, she says, this is a quote, she knows White House aides who are ready to cooperate with the Department of Justice criminal probe into Donald Trump. I mean, this is really disgusting. And, I'll tell you, for The View to put someone on there and have them on as the token Republican when they're involved in this criminal investigation of President Trump on top of trashing him all the time.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, pretty disgusting. And so, but the other thing on The View, this one's a good one. This is good. This is great news. So Charlie Kirk had Turning Point USA in Tampa, Florida.
Which was great, by the way.
Yeah, I may go to that next year. I'm thinking of going.
You definitely should.
Tampa is about a 5 or 6 hour drive from where we are. Tampa's on the west coast of Florida and north of where we are. It's due west of Orlando, and we're in South Florida, which is the southeast coast, side of Florida, and the other side of the peninsula.
Florida is a huge state. It is to go from the Keys, from Key West, to drive to Jacksonville would easily be a 12-hour drive.
Oh yeah. easily.
It is a long state.
Oh, yeah. Florida's huge. People don't realize how big Florida is.
About 2.5 hours to go across.
Yeah.
But
and the panhandle's massive.
You're going northwest.
Yeah, Florida is a humongous state. It really is. So I might fly to Tampa for that. I might, instead of driving there. It's like it depends on traffic, between 5 and 6 hours.
It's only like a 45-minute flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway,
especially if gas prices are the way they are.
Oh, yeah. Well, so anyway, I'm thinking of going to that next year because it just seems like an amazing thing. So anyway, I saw this over the weekend online, and I didn't talk about it because it's so fake and there's a thing going on. There were some Nazi protesters pretending to be, MAGA conservatives in front of the Turning Point USA event outside of the place where they had it. And this has been a running theme the last few months. When the Disney protests were going on in front of Walt Disney World, the fake Nazis showed up at Walt Disney World out in front, pretending to be pro-DeSantis and everything else. And, here's the thing, okay, about the Nazis. Mm-hmm. One thing I always tell people to do with the Nazis, when you see these, at these events, look at their Nazi flags closely. The Nazi flags are all brand new. Sometimes they're just out of the packaging, and you can tell because they have the creases and the folds from when they were in the packaging. Real Nazis, they don't have brand new Nazi flags. They take the flag that's pinned to their bedroom wall, and they take it off the wall and take it to the event, and they're very worn and used. They're not brand new. And that's always one big giveaway. One thing I
think the creases in the flags.
The creases in the flags are a big giveaway.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think I'm the only person that points out the creases in the Nazi flags. And I know it's ridiculous. And another thing about it that I've suggested people do when these fake Nazis show up and have like Nazi tattoos, I'd like people to go up with like some Lysol spray and spray on them and wipe them off because
just get a Lysol wipe.
They're like henna tattoos. They're not real.
Exactly.
And the tattoos, when you see these Nazis, the Nazi tattoos, if they have them, mostly they don't, but if they have them, they look brand new because they're, they're like Cracker Jack tattoos. You know what I mean? They're like the water on tattoos. So anyway, these fake Nazis for DeSantis and MAGA and Trump, they've been showing up in Florida in both Orlando and Tampa at different events, and they're all fake. Okay, here's the reality. There really aren't Nazis anymore. I mean, there may be a couple of guys somewhere, but they're not a real movement anymore. And one thing about the Nazis and the white supremacists, they keep wanting to tell you that there's a rise in Nazi and white supremacist movements. There is evidence to show that this is nonsense and a lie on top of the creases in the flags and all of this stuff, which is a good one. I love the creases in the flags. That's my favorite. No one in the media talks about that. They're probably too stupid in the media to realize it. But the other thing is Nazis and white supremacists, they would have been out in droves during the 8 years of Obama's presidency because Nazis and white supremacists, they get very upset at having a black president, and we didn't see them in those 8 years. And right now, we have a vice president, Willie Brown's girlfriend, Kamala Harris, who is biracial. She is black and Gandhi Indian. And the white supremacist Nazis, if they were real, wouldn't be at Turning Point USA. They would be following any place that Kamala Harris was and making themselves known because they would not like having a black Gandhi Indian woman as the vice president either.
Well, we all know that we are not Nazis and we do not embrace Nazis or welcome Nazis. But the left think that we are Nazis.
Yes.
And you have these groups of people who are, I'm sure, liberals who go around wearing Nazi gear and have the flags, and they show up at all these conservative events. And of course, there's somebody there with a camera, and they want to give the impression that we are Nazi sympathizers. Yeah. And what they also want to do is give the impression that there's been a resurgence, that there's a neo-Nazi movement affiliated
like
with
fake
Trump.
Patriot Front and all that stuff.
Affiliated with Trump specifically, that he has brought in this resurgence of Nazi sympathies, and that it has come along because of him. I don't think they want to give the impression that it's been there during Obama. They want to give the impression that this is a new thing with Trump specifically.
There are no Nazis that are for
it's
DeSantis
ridiculous.
and Trump.
It's I'll tell you nothing. But they really think that we're like this.
Trump's daughter is a Jew. His grandchildren are Jews.
Yes.
Nazis really hate Jews, okay? They wouldn't be out there supporting anything that had to do with Trump. So The View, these Nazis, these fake Nazis, emphasis on fake Nazis, they're Democrats, okay, that were in front of Turning Point USA. The ladies on The View went on the air and were saying that Charlie Kirk had invited these Nazis, invited them to the Turning Point USA conference and let them in.
Yeah.
And the ABC legal department had The View do a disclaimer live on the air. And the thing about The View, Monday through Thursday, The View is live. And on Friday, it is recorded. They do two shows on Thursday. And I know that some of you listening are going to say, Brian, why do you waste time watching The View? I do not watch The View. When there's a news event like this on The View, I'll see on Twitter the clips and I'll pull them up and play for you. I don't watch The View.
Well, there must be a reason their legal department made them say
because they were slandering Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk must have contacted them and threatened with a lawsuit.
Well, right now on Twitter, Sue The View is trending.
Exactly.
And this
so
is
they're afraid.
Yeah, so let me play this. There's two clips here. Here's the first one. They read this legal disclaimer, which I'm going to read now. You'll hear Whoopi Goldberg. Then they went to break, and then the second clip I'll play is after the break. But let's play the first one. This is the legal disclaimer on The View today.
Okay, so you have to read this thing.
Oh, I've got a legal note. The conservative group.
Sunny normally does this, but
I know.
Yes.
This is our knockoff lawyer.
Okay.
The conservative group, Turning Point USA, has condemned the group of neo-Nazis and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was DeSantis is what I want to know.
But you let them in.
President, open your
You
mouth.
let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. We'll be right back.
Okay, so so Whoopi, who I still say sounds like Nipsey Russell, she said that Charlie Kirk let the Nazis in, which is not true. Now, let me...
But Whoopi kind of screwed up that disclaimer because she basically said the opposite.
Yeah, she did the slander again.
Of what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to get in trouble because I'm sure they told her after, you shouldn't have said that because you're now reinforcing
they talked to her
in the first
They
place.
taught her to do the break. So
Idiot.
they did the legal disclaimer, and then Whoopi went and re-slandered them. Now...
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Liberals aren't the brightest.
So they come back from commercial and they have a point of clarification. Okay, The View. Listen to this. So they went to commercial after they did the legal disclaimer. Whoopi redid the slander. They take a break. Someone talked to Whoopi. So they come back with a point of clarification after the commercial.
Here we go.
Make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical. That you embraced them at your thing, I felt. So they were not in the building.
They
No,
felt
but you know what?
invited.
You know what? If the so-called Antifa, who are anti-fascist, that's what they...
Well, now, Antifa, they're anti-fascist. That's what it stands for, but they are the fascist.
Antifa stands for, would go there and protest, then Antifa would get a bad reputation. That's why when I hear that Antifa is...
Right, but that's not... But
What
let
is
me
she
just
talking
make sure
about?
that everybody... Because, misunderstanding what people say is very big.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we want to make sure I know they were not in the building, but
Right.
they were in the mix of people at the thing.
You know how bad...
Okay.
That doesn't mean anything.
Okay. This thing about if Democrats, liberals are always trying to get Republicans to disavow and condemn Nazis. There are some things you don't have to condemn. It is a given that everyone condemns Nazis.
Well, by getting you to disavow something,
condemn
they're
it.
implying
that you approve of
that
it.
you approve of it.
Yeah.
You have to go out of your way
That's correct.
to disavow it. So
Yeah.
it's really a double-edged sword, but she still is slandering them. And I tell you, Whoopi Goldberg, they need to bring up a class action lawsuit against this woman because she has done nothing but slander people from Kyle Rittenhouse, Nick Sandmann, Charlie Kirk. She has done nothing but she's very reckless with her words.
Yes, she is.
And she has done nothing but slander people on the right. And I am sick and tired of this. And I think Trump, I'm surprised he has not sued these people for maligning his name. Maybe he's waiting. But they need to start having more lawsuits like Nick Sandmann because they are very reckless. And I am so sick of being aligned with a so-called Nazi group. And they are really trying to paint. The reason they're doing this is because they are losing the minority vote by the thousands every day. Hispanics and blacks in particular, and Asians. They see these rallies, they see the black people, they see the Hispanic people, the Asian people, and they cannot handle it that it's not a fully white crowd, and it's driving them nuts that they are losing their little subgroups that they've had a grip on for so long. Whoopi Goldberg is owned by the Democrats. They own the slaves and they own her. She does whatever they say and she can't think for herself.
Yeah, and
she's a mouthpiece for
you know,
them.
Charlie Kirk, every time I turn on television, Charlie Kirk's on Fox News since Turning Point, and he is what Charlie Kirk has done is absolutely amazing beyond description. You know,
oh yeah, he's becoming a big deal.
You know, Turning Point USA. We watched Turning. We were talking yesterday. We watched Turning Point USA all day on Saturday because we were waiting for President Trump, and we watched our governor Ron DeSantis speak here from Florida. And you know, I saw the people there, and the kids that were there, the college kids and the high school kids. These are like the cool kids. And you know, back when I was younger, there were young Republicans, and they were all dorks. They looked like Ben Shapiro, just nerds who wore like khaki pants, penny loafers, and blue blazers with a white shirt and sometimes even a tie. They
love penny loafers. I used to have a pair of them.
Yeah, they kind of look like Michael P. Keaton, you know, from Family Ties.
Yeah,
Michael J. Fox. They were dorks. They were nerds. And
preps. I wouldn't say dork. I'd say preps.
Yeah, they were dorks. And there were not.
You weren't in the cool crowd, I guess.
The young Republicans were not cool. They were guys that didn't have girlfriends. And now,
I'm just kidding.
Now you look at the young Republicans, you see them at Turning Point USA, they're the popular crowd. They're the popular kids at school. And that is a big change. I'll tell you, the first Republican I saw that was a young Republican that was cool was, what's the woman that's on Fox that was on The Real World?
Oh, Rachel Campos.
Yeah, Rachel Campos Stuffy. She was on Real World San Francisco, which was the third season of The Real World. And she was a Republican. And I remember watching that. They had her on there because they had Pedro Zamora, who had AIDS, who passed away from AIDS, and they lived in the house. And they assumed because she was a Republican, she was a homophobe, so they would have her in the house being homophobic against Pedro Zamora, who had AIDS, which of course didn't happen that way. But Rachel Campos Duffy, she was like the first cool person I ever saw who was young that was a Republican. And you know, the young vote is something Democrats have taken for granted. Remember MTV Rock the Vote? They've taken it for granted forever, and they've had it for ages and ages and ages. And Trump came down the escalator and started peeling away, and then Charlie Kirk came along with Turning Point USA, which has not only a lot of activism on college campuses, but they're huge on high school campuses nationwide, and they have a massive outreach program, Turning Point USA, at high schools. And young people, it's no longer a given that they're Democrats. They are more and more Republican.
Yeah, and that really makes my heart warm and feel good. There's two problems Democrats are having. Well, they have many problems, but two main problems they're having. Biden, first of all, they're radicalized, and their ideas are just too far out there that nobody can get on board.
Yeah.
And they have become the party of the rich elite radicals. Their way of thinking is not mainstream anymore. And the second problem they're having is Biden. If you compare his administration to Trump's, and I'm not going to talk about COVID, that was an outlier that, you know, would be hard for anybody to deal with. And I think Trump dealt with it very well. But when you compare Trump's economy to Biden, what's happening now, people were making more money. There was no inflation. Gas prices were $1.50, $1.75. My mom's IRA or whatever, her investments doubled under Trump. Now they're back down to what they were before Trump with Obama. She's lost so much money. People were making money, saving money. The economy was booming. And this was still while everybody was trying to get him down and take him down, and he was fighting the swamp. He still managed to do all this. And have low gas prices. People remember all of this because it wasn't that long ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And Biden is so bad. People are remembering, God, I remember when I paid $1.50 a gallon. I remember when I could go grocery shopping and have money left over. And I remember I was making an extra $500 a month Now everybody's struggling so much. They're like, it's getting people back that never supported Trump in the first place onto the Trump train. Because they're like, you know what? I don't like what the guy said, but hey, I was making a lot more money and I was a hell of a lot happier than I am right now. Right now, I'm so freaking miserable. Biden is the problem. He is a horrible, horrible president. And I'm just reading this article now in Bloomberg. They had an op-ed. I wanted to share it with you real quick. Today, this came out. Bloomberg Opinion published a piece today calling for Biden to increase gas prices intentionally and forever in order to hasten a transition to alternative forms of energy. The op-ed written by columnist Eduardo Porto called for a $5 a gallon floor on gasoline prices. He described the policy as a bold move that will put a real dent in the emission of heat-trapping carbon dioxide that is causing such havoc with the weather. As an economist will tell him, the most efficient way to reduce fossil fuel consumption is to raise its prices. So this is their strategy. I hope Biden does this. Please do this, Biden. Raise the prices to $5 across the board. Make it the bottom level, and let's see how that goes for you guys. What a moron.
I saw something on Truth Social a couple days ago. This was absolutely amazing. Amazing. It was a screenshot of two different weather reports with the same meteorologist on the same channel on during two different summers, okay? And it was a European newscast. I remember last week they were talking that the planet was about to burst into flames, on the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea movie.
Yes.
And I'll tell you right now, here in Florida, the last few days have been this is the hottest time of the year. Has been a little cool for this time of the year, to tell you the truth. But anyway,
it was nice this morning.
Oh man, yeah,
it was really nice.
But they were talking in Europe. Remember last week they showed that house fire outside of London, and that they were. It became a worldwide story as if the heat caused this home to just spontaneously combust into flames.
Yeah.
So anyway, someone put this up on True Social. It was a screenshot. It was a meteorologist on a local news station in Germany last summer and this summer, and the temperatures were about the same. And this year, the graphic, all the temperatures were in fire red. And last year, they were white and blue. And they were showing how they changed the colors on the map to make the temperatures seem more intense than they've ever been. It's all a big, big lie. Now, I want to tell you guys a couple things. Now, there's a massive sale going on right now at MyPillow.com on the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper. When you use our promo code at checkout, Kane, Kane, it's 50% off. This is the lowest price ever on the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper, which is the thickest mattress topper that Mike Lindell makes. Kathy and I sleep on the 3-inch mattress topper every night. It will change your life. We got it because Kathy was having back problems. She slept on it one night, woke up the next day, her back problems disappeared and have not returned. It is wonderful. It is life-changing, and it comes in every mattress size. So when you go to MyPillow.com, with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, take advantage of all the specials you see there. But I'm alerting you right now about this special on the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper. It is 50% off with our promo code Kane. Now, also Mike Lindell has My Store, right? MyStore.com, where he has a lot of great items. You can buy anything you like at My Store with our promo code Kane, Kane, for huge savings. Mike Lindell has a new line of coffee.
Yes, everybody's talking about it.
And we've got to order some of this coffee ourselves. I'm dying to taste it. And if you go to My Store and order Mike Lindell's coffee with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, there's a big, humongous discount on that. So, by the way, you can use our promo code Kane on any items at the mystore.com as well as mypillow.com. But the coffee, everyone's talking about it. You can get it for a great deal.
What do you think about this cover of Vogue that the Zelensky's wife, Annie Leibovitz went to the Ukraine, which is, a war zone, apparently. And the famous photographer, she does photography for Vogue, Vanity Fair, all this stuff. And she did pictures of Zelensky and his wife. It was a big glamour shot, and they had a whole crew there and took pictures of him in front of a plane, and they had soldiers around, and absolutely ridiculous. And then they have her. She's on the cover. They're trying to make her into the new Diana.
Well, I think
that's what I think's going on.
There's two photos I've seen. One is with Zelensky and his wife, and I guess the wife is on the cover by herself.
Yeah.
And then they took some photos together over there. Let me tell you, I'm disgusted by Vogue. We literally had an international supermodel first lady for 4 years. We're going to have her again, by the way, in Trump's second term.
Yep.
Did they put Melania on the cover
No.
of any of these things?
No.
No.
Never.
No. And
Totally snubbed her.
Zelensky's wife came over here. I'm sure she's a nice lady. I really don't know. She doesn't speak English. But they put her on this media tour over here. Now she's on Vogue. I mean, if things are that bad in Ukraine, how are her and her husband having time to pose with Annie Leibovitz?
They have time to pose with Annie Leibovitz. They have time to meet with Ben Stiller. They have time to meet with other celebrities and go around and, I don't know. I don't know what it was like during Vietnam or other wars if they took
like
photographs of, during World War II, did they take photographs of Churchill's wife or whatever and put them on the cover of fashion magazines?
No.
This
it's in bad taste.
This is all about selling everything in a nice, neat little package. And now all of a sudden they're propping up his wife because I think maybe the money's running out. I don't know what's going on, but now they're trying to make her like a Diana type figure.
Yes.
Like she's down with the people and she's some big hero.
The people's first lady.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. That's what they're trying to do. She's the new Diana. And but a lot of people are not happy about this. I think it's, but everything the left does is in poor taste.
It's in bad taste.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this thing about Zelensky. Zelensky with this costume he wears where he dresses like Castro, where he's always in the green camouflage clothes with the beard and the beard, like his Castro outfit. He's always there on the front lines.
I mean, they got her wife with a glam squad. She's like got her hair done, her makeup. Mm-hmm. And very fancy. Yeah, there he is with I'm watching a little video with his stupid T-shirt on and khaki pants. And you're right, it's like a uniform because he wants to give the impression that he's always ready for combat.
He's in combat. He's on the front line.
Yeah, but she's got it. But she's all glammed up. So
well,
my watch is.
I've been telling you guys, I have been watching since this began a YouTube channel, a couple YouTube channels with Ukrainians, and there's one in particular. You guys can look it up, Pavlo in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And Pavlo in Ukraine seems like a nice guy. His English is all right. And he's got this girlfriend, this pretty girlfriend, and they just travel around in Ukraine like nothing's going on.
Yeah, seems like a normal day.
And his girlfriend doesn't speak English, so she doesn't talk much, but she goes around with him, and she's a pretty girl. She doesn't seem worried about the Russian rape gangs. Pavlo has not joined the army, and he was going around the other day buying cookies at the bakery. Pavlo in Ukraine, so things don't seem as bad. As in a way, if you're the ruling elite, Ukraine has been known to be a corrupt country. The government being corrupt.
There's something fishy, something rotten in the state of Denmark.
And if we had a true accounting of where the money was going that we're sending over there by the billions, I think it would be very eye-opening. The Ukrainian leadership are socking away money in Swiss and Cayman bank accounts or something somewhere. And this, what I was telling you guys this from the beginning. Don't you find it a little too coincidental, just a little too coincidental? I can hardly get the word out. We had a 20-year war in Afghanistan. It ended. And then like the next day, this thing started with Russia and Ukraine. They're bringing back the Cold War because it's very profitable.
There were no wars under Trump.
Well, there's a story I read today that really, really upset me because it's taking things to the next level. They're now going to start taking wounded Ukrainian soldiers and flying them to U.S. Hospitals in Germany, which that gets us involved. Everything you see gets us a little more involved, a little
deeper.
Some more Americans died in combat over there this week, a couple more, 2 or 3.
This is going to be another 20-year war that's never going to end.
They're easing us into it slowly. And, listen, they have everything they need to have military hospitals in Ukraine. They don't need to fly them to Germany.
Well, we've given them a whole bunch of money.
Yeah,
Are you kidding
and they have hospitals.
They got like $100 billion.
The reason they're flying them to the American hospitals in Germany is to get us more and more involved. That's all it is. And, what's going to happen is, I don't know what planes they're going to use. I don't think Ukraine has a usable air force. They're going to have to use American planes because the Russians won't shoot them down. Well, that could happen. Remember when in the 80s, when the Russians shut down that Korean commercial jet? It had an American member of Congress, might have been a senator on board. When you're in a war zone and you're flying around in a war zone, all kinds of craziness can happen.
Well, speaking of war, the Biden administration is proposing to return the convicted arms merchant Victor Bout to Russia. They called him the Merchant of Death in exchange for Brittany Grenier. So you know how great Obama was at prisoner exchanges. He exchanged like 5 terrorists for one terrorist. So now Biden wants to exchange a convicted arms dealer, the Merchant of Death, for a basketball player.
Yeah, who was breaking the law over there by bringing
insane to me.
The CBD. I don't buy
Do you think he'd
her
be doing
story.
this if she was white? I don't think so. He really wants to prove he's not a bigot.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing with him.
Yeah, he is.
Wants to prove he's all down with the black people.
Now listen, we got to take a quick break, but when we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
So you want to find the right web hosting company that fits your needs, but you don't know where to begin. You need to head over to cheapwebhostingoffer.com. They test and compare the best web hosting providers on the market to help people just like you choose from a very large web hosting offer and find the best solution as web hosting. And right now at cheapwebhostingoffer.com, you can save up to 70% off hosting plans and get a free domain. It's great for anyone who wants to start an online business, whether you're talking about a website or blog. Choosing the best web hosting is tough. There are hundreds of options, and every web hosting claims to be the best one out there. It can be confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Cheapwebhostingoffer.com do all the research for you. All you have to do is choose the right one for you. Go right now to cheapwebhostingoffer.com and save up to 70% off hosting plans and get a free domain. That's cheapwebhostingoffer.com. Cancer is a disease that affects almost everyone in some way. The book from author David Etheridge, Cancer Alternatives, available on Amazon, tells you what doctors won't, how you can prevent and fight cancer while restoring your health and immunity. Cancer Alternatives also discusses the damages that are caused by certain choices people make and how you can make the right choices to fight cancer effectively. Written from personal experience, Cancer Alternatives discusses a number of things that can affect the outcome of your cancer struggle, as well as some things that might even prevent cancer in the first place. This must-read book is not about traditional cancer treatment because that is the realm of medical practice. It is about why cancer develops, why it spreads, and what you can do to reduce the risk, presence, and spread of cancer. Cancer Alternatives from author David Etheridge. Order your copy on Amazon. If you want lips that glimmer and sparkle, there's a lip kit on Amazon you will love. The shiny, long-lasting Lipstick Glitter Lip Kit. It comes in many colors, including Scarlet Red, Dynasty Gold, Sugar Nude, and Purple Rain, with more exciting colors on the way. These are long-lasting, fade-proof lipsticks that stay put and make your lips look fabulous. Create perfect, shiny lips that look gorgeous and shiny. You can buy the shiny, long-lasting Lipstick Glitter Lip Kit on Amazon at amazon.com/shops/Hina Laulea. That's HINALAULEA.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. You know, for those of you that are new to the program, I just give you a little background on what I do. So you know, because I got so much going on, and
yes,
I think sometimes people are confused.
I know I am.
I get confused too. I tell you, I do so much that I get confused on what day of the week it is and what time of day it is and everything else. Oh my goodness! But I'm a radio talk show host. I host a conservative radio show 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and morning drive on 6 radio stations here in Florida, and it's a 3-hour show live with live calls, and I've been on the air every day for 30 years in Florida. I've been doing it for a long time. I started when I was young. I started right out of high school, actually. So that but 30 years,
over 30 years.
So
actually,
so I do that every morning, and also I have a YouTube channel. I live stream when I'm on the radio on the 6 radio stations, I live stream on my YouTube channel, which you can find me, Brian Craig, on YouTube. And you can watch me there live when I'm on the radio, and I take live calls from the radio listeners and from those watching on YouTube. And the radio stations I'm on, they're 5 FM stations and 1 AM station. And the AM station's a big station. It's a 50,000 watt AM, which is a huge station. So I'm on these 6 radio stations, do that Monday through Friday.
You got a lot going on.
The podcast here, the Brian Craig Show podcast that I co-host with my wife, Kathy, we've been doing this for the podcast for about a decade. And I think it'll be the 10th anniversary this year or the 11th. I got to check on the calendar.
10th.
It'll be the 10th. Yeah. In September will be our 10th anniversary of the Brian Craig Show podcast. And, of course, we do this program every day. And the Brian Craig Show podcast with Kathy and myself here that we're doing now, we're on every single podcast platform there is. Now, sometimes new podcast platforms prop up, and then they carry the show as well. In fact, there's a brand new podcast platform I've never heard of before that just contacted me today. They're just starting out. They asked if they could carry the podcast.
Do you know the name of it?
Not offhand, but I just got an email earlier today. I got to read through it, but we're on all podcast platforms, including Spotify. We're even on Audible as well. And the podcast is not only on all of the podcast platforms, but we're also, I upload the podcast to our YouTube channel, Brian Craig on
We're everywhere.
YouTube.
There's no escape.
And on YouTube, I do a lot, okay? Like I say, I upload the podcast on YouTube. I also live stream Monday through Friday, 3 hours every morning from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time, the radio show. But I also do other things on the YouTube channel. I do live streams from my home studio on the weekends and take live calls from people watching the YouTube stream from our home studio, which is a very nice studio, which we're in right now. And also I make a lot of vlogs, and I enjoy vlogging. I do vlogs, and well, for example, this week I did a vlog showing something that was really difficult that in a closed down abortion clinic here in Florida, which was the biggest, most popular in its heyday abortion clinic in South Florida, has closed down. I gave a tour on and I show it on YouTube of this closed down abortion clinic here in Florida. It's amazing. I got a vlog that'll be going live later this week for on my YouTube channel, where I went to Fort Lauderdale Beach and proved that the sea levels are now rising. Okay, and that's a good video. You will not want to miss that one. So anyway, it's Brian Craig on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. And these are all the different things I do. I basically talk nonstop, right? Podcast, YouTube, radio, and sometimes when I'm live streaming on the radio during the commercial breaks on the radio, sometimes I don't talk, and people wonder, and I was like, well, I got to rest my mouth. I talk so much.
You know, in fact, there's many times you come home and for a while you really don't talk a lot. And
no,
sometimes
I'll
like talk to you and you won't say much, and I get a little upset. And I'll be like, "Are you ignoring me?" And you'll be, and I forget.
Yes.
And I'll be, and you're like, "No, I'm just really want to rest my voice." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." I mean, true. I don't know. Maybe it's an excuse to ignore me. But I do understand, because you talk. After I just do this show, and I have like you as a co-host, and we do like an hour. There's sometimes I have to like go get a throat lozenge and like have that in my throat and have a cup of tea.
Plus all the commercials you hear.
So I can't imagine 3 hours every day.
And all the commercials you hear on the radio and on the podcast, I record those. I mean, like right now, my jaw is sore.
Yeah.
Both of my jaw joints are sore.
It's like you're chewing gum for hours and hours, really, at a time. I mean, I could see.
What I tell people sometimes is Kathy knows what I'm going to say. My mouth gets more work than a street walking prostitute. Okay, and it catches up to you.
Yeah,
it catches up.
Ask Hunter Biden.
So anyway, I got something here with Biden I want to share.
Well, let me also plug real quick our. I don't know if you mentioned the YouTube overnights that we're playing now of your replay of your radio show on your YouTube channel, Brian Craig. You can listen to your radio show from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., which leads into the live show. And also we have our store, magamerch.shop. And I just added a Carrie Lake shirt and a new Ultra MAGA design. Lots of cool designs. We have shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, stickers, all kinds of cool things. So check it out, magamerch.shop.
Yes,
it's
that's
awesome.
right. Now, Joe Biden went out speaking today and trashed Trump. You know, he is a terrible person. He really is a terrible person. And, you know, yesterday Biden spoke and I listened to it, but I wasn't watching it and I missed it. And Richie, the bus driver, called me on the radio this morning and told me about it. So I went and looked at it because I was just listening to it and not watching it. I missed it. Biden spoke yesterday, and during the entire speech, he did not blink, and he had his eyes wide open, like you know how you force your eyes to stay open?
What is that about? Was he afraid if he blinked, he'd fall asleep?
Drugs, something, I don't know. He did not blink once, and it was a very long speech, a couple of few minutes.
I have to watch
it's
that. That's
very weird.
I'll watch it and turn down the volume.
It's very weird. But this clip I'm going to play is not from that speech. This is from today. And he said terrible things about President Trump. Of course, he won't say President Trump's name.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say, if you're going to have the gall to attack someone, at least say their name.
He won't say the name. He won't say the name.
Coward.
But I want to play this. He was talking about when Trump got COVID. And let me play the whole thing, and then we'll talk about it, okay? I don't want to interrupt this lowlife Joe Biden because this is really a disgusting person.
He is a lowlife.
He's a disgusting man, and this is a disgusting comment.
Test it, and if you need it, Paxlovid is at the ready right then and there when you make your visit. Again, go to covid.gov to find where test and treat sites are that are near you.
Oh my gosh, is he drunk?
Get the words
Can't
out.
even speak. This is the leader of the free world,
Tested
people.
treat sites. That's a new one.
I guess that's like Halloween. You get your treats.
I don't want any treats that Biden is giving out.
Yeah. Okay. So then he goes on. Listen.
Here's the bottom line. When my predecessor got COVID, he had to get helicoptered to Walter Reed Medical Center. He was severely ill. Thankfully, he recovered. When I got COVID, I worked from upstairs of the White House, and the office is upstairs, and for that 5-day period. The difference is vaccinations, of course, but also 3 new tools, free to all and widely available.
Okay. So what Biden is doing here, what's very disgusting, but I expect nothing but disgust from Joe Biden. He's trying to act like he is a tougher guy, more of a man, more of a leader than Trump, because when Trump got COVID, he had to be helicoptered out on Marine One to Walter Reed, and he just went upstairs. The reason that Biden went upstairs and spent his time up there, he still sounds like he hasn't recovered, he's slurring his words and everything, is because when President Trump got COVID, there were not many treatments. The treatments were experimental, and they used the experimental treatments on him, which thankfully they worked. But
the only reason Biden has these treatments is because of Trump.
Yeah, Trump almost died.
Yeah.
Trump almost died.
It actually proves that Trump is tougher because he had the one treatment they gave him.
That was experimental.
And he pulled through. And Biden's had everything pumped into his body.
Yeah.
And he's still barely coherent.
Yeah, and for Biden to go out there when there was no medical treatments for COVID, and by the way,
makes Trump stronger,
COVID,
actually,
and the virus was much stronger then than it is now too.
Exactly,
it's really
this is like a baby virus.
Is he not pathetic? So Biden, Biden is so they spend so much time with Biden trying to tell you how fit he is, how tough he is, how with it he is,
because he runs around like a lunatic.
And this one here is really disgusting. I mean, this is like talking about, well, when I had the flu, I just went to bed for a couple of days. But, before they had any treatments back, back in 1918, everybody was afraid and they were hiding, This guy, that is really disgusting. And this thing they have of the predecessor whose name shall not be mentioned, like it's Harry.
Like he's Voldemort.
Exactly. They can't say his name. Isn't that what it's like?
Yeah,
I mean,
funny.
It's so why
can't be named?
Yeah, I mean, what are they? They're afraid to say his name.
It's so ridiculous. Trump's Voldemort to them.
Okay, now
if you guys watch Harry Potter, you know what we're talking about.
Okay, now everybody watches Harry Potter.
We've seen those movies so many times.
Yeah.
Our daughter was really into Harry Potter.
Yeah, we should do another marathon and watch them all again.
Yeah, the good movies.
And since no one...
I don't know, that's like a 16-hour commitment.
Well, we don't want, not in row, but since MAGA no longer goes to Walt Disney World, go to Walt Disney, instead of Walt Disney World, go to Universal Studios Orlando.
Harry Potter.
They have these Harry Potter worlds and Diagon Alley, which I really never really even saw the movie. And when I went there the first time, it's amazing. It's like you're in the world of Harry Potter. They call it the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So this country is in an economic recession, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we have an administration that is spending the entire week telling us this is not a recession. There's another definition for recession.
Yeah, more gaslighting.
Yeah, Paul Krugman, who's the economics writer for the New York Times, he's a real piece of work, Krugman. He said ignore the 2-quarter rule on a recession. Just ignore it. And the White House, see, the reason this recession is going to be the worst recession of our lifetimes possibly because when there's an economic recession, no matter who the presidents before Biden are, Republican or Democrat, make moves to try to reverse that and get positive growth so that we get out of a recession. This White House will not even admit we are in a recession. So how can they fix a problem that they won't even acknowledge exists?
Well, this is what liberals do. They redefine things. They relabel things. They change the narrative, the dialogue, the wording. They manipulate everything to make themselves look good. But you know what? It doesn't matter what they say or what they do. What matters is what's going on in people's homes and what they're really dealing with. And people are not as easily manipulated as maybe they were 20 years ago or 10 years ago. People are really definitely more awake. I like to say awake, not woke. They realize what's going on. And they're not having it. They don't care what little pretty package they're going to put it into. They know what they're dealing with in reality. And the more they ignore this problem, the worse it's going to be for the Democrats. I don't know why they just don't fix it. They continue to ignore the problems of the American people, and it's not going to serve them well. It's really not. They're really going to be in trouble in November, and I personally cannot wait for it, especially starting next month with the primaries.
And all the Democrats, all the White House are doing is spending time trying to change the definition of what a recession is.
Yeah, to make it like it
as
doesn't
opposed
exist.
to dealing with it right out of George Orwell's 1984.
Exactly.
So this was going to be very bad because, like I said, they're not trying to fix it. Now, I wanted to share this story, which is a bizarre story about Ashley Judd, okay?
Yes.
And I'm not going to read all the details of it, but I'll just read the headline and we'll talk about it. 3-time rape survivor, Ashley Judd, she was raped by 3 different people?
I don't know. She's
3
a
different
strange
times?
woman. She's the one who was screaming at the top of her head
With the
Trump rally.
pink hat?
I am a nasty woman.
Yes.
She's got problems.
Yeah. 3-time rape survivor Ashley Judd reveals she met with one of her rapists for a restorative justice conversation several years after the 1999 assault.
Restorative justice. See, this is
restorative
what I mean.
justice conversation.
This is a new term I've never.
Yes.
That's been invented now.
Restorative justice
That's
conversation.
Part of the lexicon. I've never heard this term before. Restorative justice.
Yeah. So
this is something from the left.
She tracked this person down. So let me read it. 3-time rape survivor Ashley Judd reveals she met with one of her rapists for a restorative justice conversation several years after the 1999 assault. And she says this, Ashley Judd, quote, "We ended up in rocking chairs sitting by a creek together." Okay, a couple things about this.
That's what everybody does with their rapist.
Okay, the rape. All this happened at the height of her fame. She was a big star in 1999. The late 90s, early 2000s was when she was a movie star. So this was at the peak of her fame. She was raped. I'm dying to know who this is. Was it a Hollywood person, a Harvey Weinstein type? Was she grabbed in the Walmart parking lot? What happened? I'm curious to know, and I'm curious to know why she didn't bring this person to justice. And another thing about it is this sitting in the rocking chair by the creek together. A couple things. Was she not afraid that he would rape her again? Did she have protection so he couldn't do it? And another thing.
Well, what kind of justice is restorative justice? See, this to me
I don't even understand this.
Seems to line with defunding the police. Like, instead of putting the rapist in jail, why don't you guys go sit by the river in rocking chairs and work it out and go to a therapy session? That's what this seems to. This is messed up.
She said she was on a podcast interview. She said,
goodness.
There are many ways of healing from grief. It's important to remind listeners that I didn't need anything from him, the rapist. Ashley Judd called her rape crazy making because she knew better as an empowered feminist woman with boundaries.
The hell is she talking about?
She said she's a 3-time rape survivor. She's an advocate for abortion.
I think she was crazy before the rape. I don't think the rape made her crazy.
You know, another thing about it is, like, was she safe?
Goodness
was she worried she'd get raped? Did she have security? And, you know, a rapist is many things, but also a perv, okay?
Of course.
There are many terrible things, but one of them is a rapist would find satisfaction in the rocking chair talking to the rape victim. He would get a thrill out of that.
Well, one thing you can definitely...
It's very weird.
No, and we watch a lot of true crime, as we tell you. Criminals are very manipulative. They're never sorry. They're not empathetic. If they were empathetic, they wouldn't commit crimes. They're completely narcissistic. And if there's a restorative justice moment with her, whatever he's telling her, it's all BS. And he's just telling her what she wants. It's a further manipulation, and it's a further rape. It's an extension of that rape.
Yeah,
because he's getting in her head.
Very bizarre.
And he's having a conversation with her, and he's getting off on it. These, you know, I don't understand the mind of a liberal. I never will. These are really, I think, deeply troubled people, and they're attracted to each other, and they are driven by hate and fear.
Yeah.
And they are not happy people.
Yep.
They're always angry. They're always pissed off.
Well, Ashley Judd's a mental patient.
Well, she's, you know.
And I'll tell you something. What she said here about tracking down the rapist and having this restorative justice thing by the creek, what she did is dangerous because she's a vocal advocate on rape survivors as well as abortion. There are a lot of people that take what she says serious. And there may be women who try to do what she did and get themselves in some trouble again, like being raped again.
She's a good actress. I really like her movie, The Girls, and Kiss the Girls or whatever.
Kiss the Girls was very good.
It was a very good movie with Morgan Freeman. She's a very good actress. She was in a movie with Natalie Portman, Anywhere But Here, somewhere.
The Walmart movie?
The Walmart movie. Very good movie. I don't know what happened to her, but, and I feel bad her mom killed herself.
Oh, my gosh.
Clearly there's some
mental
health issues in the family.
Yeah, but what she's doing here is very dangerous. Now,
I agree.
I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support. Now, remember, all Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And what I do with that is after I take our podcast, I edit out all the commercials, and I upload it directly as a post on our Patreon page. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you will find the commercial-free podcast episodes on our Patreon page. Kathy and I post things there quite a bit, but I post the podcast commercial-free editions there as well, and that's where you can hear the commercial-free edition of each and every podcast episode. And all Patreon supporters have access to that. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and Le Paul. If you'd like to become a top Patreon supporter or a regular Patreon supporter, you click on the Patreon link in the description of this episode. It's in every episode, and it explains how you can become a Patreon supporter, or, and it'll walk you through the whole thing. It's a pretty simple thing. So there's a link to our Patreon page in the description of this and every single episode. All right, well, we are out of time for today, but we'll be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.
Are you a cool dad? Parenting and fatherhood meets self-help in the book, Daddy is Cool Like That, available on Amazon. This important book is all about positive parenting, relationships with children, and being a super cool daddy. The perfect daddy and daughter moments in this heartwarming story will inspire you to celebrate your own family relationships. This book's charming illustrations will grab your attention and make the story about daddy even more heartwarming. This book is not only a great gift, but also a fantastic read for everyone. Daddy is Cool Cool Like That may be the book that gives you the incentive to be not only cool, but magnificent. This is a children's picture book that depicts a young family who has recently had their father diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Partly inspired by the author's family journey with the disease, it shows other young children and the families how to cope and to realize that there can still be moments of enjoyment to be shared, as well as the happy memories that follow. Daddy is Cool Like That, available on Amazon. Get your copy today.